I remember wise words that were once spoken to me. We are more than just ourselves. For ourselves may exist in near infinite quantity. There exists the self that you show to the world, the self that you wish to be seen as. There is a self that exists in others. Within the people you know exists a different you, their own version of you, existing in their minds. Within you exists a self, the self you believe to be, the self that you have grasped a perception of. Some speculate that it is this self that is your true self, but I believe that a true self eludes all of us. We exist in near infinite selves. And yet, why can I only see four?
The Magia Records. Album 1, Track 1, Reflection.
Hello everyone! I am Saint Syk, and welcome to the newest track in the Magia Records. I'm excited to welcome you all to our very first episode, and I hope you're all feeling rather thankful. For me at least, it's Thanksgiving. By the time this comes out, there's no way it will be Thanksgiving. In today's track of the Magia Records, we will be reciting a few events from, obviously, Madoka Magica. That being the 12-episode series show, Puella Magi Madoka Magica. We'll also be covering topics from the movie Rebellion, which is the third movie within the line of Madoka Magica. And we'll also be covering the first 3 days of the PSP game. If you haven't played that, I don't blame you. It hardly exists anywhere in the world. Either way, if you haven't seen any of these, I highly recommend that you do. Seriously, you'll be depriving yourself of an amazing experience, and I don't want to be the one that spoils it for you. So if you haven't seen Puella Magi Madoka Magica, the 12-episode series, and if you haven't seen the movie Rebellion, it's the third one, I heavily recommend that you do. Without further ado, let's get into track 1, Reflection. In the first episode of Puella Magi Madoka Magica, which I will now go on to refer to as just Madoka Magica, because saying the entire thing makes me sound super geeky, and it is way too long, and to be quite frank, just kind of confusing, and I really hated typing it out in my scripts, so I'm just going to refer to as the 12-episode series as Madoka Magica. Everything else will also have different references. Don't worry, it's easy to keep track of. Anyway, within the first episode, there's a scene where Madoka and her mom are both getting ready in their bathroom, just being girls, putting their faces on. Because Madoka's trying to be...
Peace out, you tricked your mom into telling you the secret to being popular, didn't you? Well, I'm not gonna let that happen. Ha!
So fancy. Anyway, whatever they say, I don't know, I wouldn't really know. I noticed that in the mirror, the reflections were only in a certain amount. Now, if the mirrors were positioned like this in real life, they would reflect infinitely. However, there was only 4 reflections. Wow, Saint SYK. You hit the nail on the hammer this time. You noticed that animators didn't draw into infinity. Now, yes, I know that. Now, I know that's not a lot to start on, but trust me, I've uncovered way more off of actually way less. And besides, this was only essentially the primer in my theory. This is one of the cookie crumb trail. One thing that I absolutely adore about Madoka Magica is that each walkthrough of mine honestly felt like I was on an entirely different journey, which is oddly self-aware considering that the PSP game is actually a roguelike. As I was saying, this is what led me on the initial trail of the theory I'm presenting to you today, and also kind of why I titled it Reflection, because, well, it all stems from when I saw the reflections in the mirror, and also because I thought keeping it as one word was really cool. I really have to say, I'm absolutely in love with that little format that they've built up, the sort of like, go find it yourself. Because every time I watch it, it almost feels like there's a sense of replayability there, or, rewatchability there, because I can make a new theory off of one lead, watch the show, and then notice all of the details and scenes that go to support said theory, which is why I've probably seen the show a good number of times, not to actually get to the real theory. So, as my psychology teacher once told me, a good theory actually starts with you announcing what you're trying to find out. And I believe I've conducted a theory and compiled enough evidence to show that, originally, Madoka Magica did not have the amount of timelines that it actually is confirmed to have. I believe it actually started with, and I'm not lying, because if you know how many there actually are, this is going to sound like a shock to you, but stay holding with me, I have good evidence. I think there were only actually ever planned, originally, to be 5 to 9 timelines. As I stated, in episode 1, we can see there are only 4 reflections in the mirror, multiple times. In later episodes, we can also see a similar effect with their shadows that are cast, actually. Now, I'm no lighting expert, as I'm sure you can tell from these videos alone. We just kind of roll with the lighting that we have, and that creates for some good angles and some not so great angles. But within these angles, there sometimes are shadows cast in each direction of the compass from within themselves, being north, west, south, and east. This happens in a few iterations of moments. Some notable times is when Mami and Homura are talking with each other, and another moment is after Sayaka's, well, one of her untimely deaths. She kind of dies a few times.
What the hell's going on here? What is this?
Not the greatest.
She's dead!
But, as you can see, this is almost strange. It definitely stood out to me when seeing it, but I didn't know why. Another thing I also wanted to point out is these chairs. What is happening with these chairs? I mean, these people have more places to sit than I do in my own videos. I mean, I constantly adjust where I am, and yet I bet you could actually play musical chairs for like an hour in half of these rooms. I actually have a later theory about the chairs more in depth later, but for now, they still are a bit of a point within this theory. One thing that's also kinda, just there is within Madoka's house, there are a few boxes that actually match the colors of the Holy Quintinet, but they're slightly wrong. Wow, Saint SYK, you actually have a real nothing burger on your hands. Well, do I? I actually believe that this is reality leaking within itself. There are small imperfections, small incorrect oddities that are happening. And it's all because of Homura messing with time. Things are looping in with each other. I mean, why else would Madoka have that nightmare if she didn't have any memory of it before? Why else would there be 4 reflections? 4 different shadows. I'm just noticing these patterns. Anyway, within Madoka Magica, we are evidently actually shown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, 5 timelines that were shown. And although some of these timelines are literally shown for like 10 seconds out of what the entirety of they were, this information is actually given to us masterfully. And to be perfectly frank with you, I didn't need a single second more to understand exactly what we were being shown. Now, you think you might know what you know, but I know more, and I'll prove it. Now, within these timelines, I actually have come to the conclusion that they are wrapped almost similarly to the PSP game, where each timeline that Homer actually goes through represents almost a run for each member of the Holy Quintet. Now, what makes me say this? Well, it was actually told to us, just quietly, secretly. It was subtly placed before us. Now, her first run, being almost run 0 here, is obviously her run with Madoka. Seeing as Homura has no magical ability in this run, and only vows to become a magical girl so she can save Madoka at the end, which, where have we seen that one before? I'm pretty safe to say she has 0 control over the situation around her. But this is okay, because this just means that it was her Madoka run. This is the run that started it all. This is the run with her vow, this is the run where her and Miss Kaname become friends, and she makes that very specifically worded wish.
I wish I could meet Miss Kaname all over again. But this time, instead of her protecting me, I want to be strong enough to protect her!
Now, her second run was probably her Mami route. And I need to speak more confidently. Her second run being her Mami route. This is the one where we can see that she's actually training under Mami and Madoka. This is a logical step for her, considering her first run, where her and Madoka faced Valpurgis Noct, was unsuccessful. She needs to wrangle in more help. Now, who does she look to? Well, probably someone she would consider, more knowledgeable and in somewhat a trustworthy figure. Not only to herself, but also to Miss Kaname, so that they'd be able to have a mutual goal in mind. So, this was her Mami route. We know that they're actually successful to a degree because they all do make it till Valpurgis Noct, but in the end, they are unfortunately unsuccessful, having to restart the timeline once again, and then resulting in run 3. So, Homura is left with another conclusion. Get more magical girls. Now, on to run 3. This would be my favorite run, which is why, naturally, it is given absolutely the least amount of screen time possible. Run 3, Sayaka. The reason we can know that this is Sayaka's run is because, quite literally, one of the only things we're actually shown of it is that Homura is trying her best to work with Sayaka, to which she is absolutely doing terrible at. Now, it's no secret that, Sayaka and Homura famously have a non-existent amount of chemistry, but what we can see here is that she did at least make an attempt to once work with Sayaka. Ultimately being fruitless, but I mean, it's better than nothing, especially when we're coming to Homura. Now, allow me to bring up something pretty interesting. You can't tell, but I am smiling.
Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow.
Get the
Meow.
Now, Sayaka and Homura are obviously enemies. I mean, it actually couldn't be more in our face. Quite literally, at the end of Rebellion, she says, and I quote, "Then I guess that makes me your enemy." Not to mention, Homura kind of pointed the 9 at Sayaka's head and said, if you're gonna die, at least just do it away from Madoka, offering actual 0 help. So, they might not be besties. It's kind of safe to say that. However, I do understand why Homura and why Sayaka would actually be open to working with each other in these earlier runs. Well, because Sayaka's initial opinion of Homura is actually drastically different and changes during her interactions with modern Homura. Now, her first opinions are that Homura is, quote, gorgeous, cool, and pretty.
Whoa, she's super gorgeous. Doesn't make any sense, does it? And there I was, thinking she was this awesome girl, but it turns out she's a total psycho. Ah! I hope she doesn't think acting like a weird transfer student is cool. That's so annoying, it makes me sick. This has...
I always really love that thing in anime that they do, where they have to, actually have someone specify if somebody is good looking or not, because otherwise, you would never know. I actually love that they do that all the time, because it's literally such a big trope that they do. Like, there will be like someone, it'll be like, oh wow, he looks just like everybody, but then they'll have a character say, no, he's ugly, and that's how you know that he's not good looking. So, I love that they also did that in Madoka Magica, where they had to have Sayaka be like, wow, she's attractive, so that you could, register that in your mind. I think the other thing that's funny is that during those first 3 episodes, they really do play into tropes, so, well played, using all the tropes that we can. I see you, they think I don't see it, but they do see it, I do see it. I'm the best to ever touch the game! Now, I don't really think Sayaka would maintain the opinion that Homura was cool at the very least, and, well, considering how different her hair was, and the glasses typically being unflattering traits during that area. Maybe she wouldn't have even thought she was gorgeous, I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe Sayaka's just, got a type or something. Holy I'm actually cutting all of that freestyle out of the video. I'm actually cutting all of that. Okay, anyway, back to what the script actually says. Now, it's easy to assume that Sayaka could have absolutely maintained those, lighted opinions of Homura had she interacted with these early stage ones. Before she was, trauma-ridden and all that, edgy and autistic. I really don't think that, I need to speak with more confidence. Confidence, Saint Syk. Confidence. Anyway, now, Sayaka would not maintain the opinions that Homura was cool, and I'm not really certain if she would... Okay, confidence, Saint Syk. Now, Sayaka wouldn't maintain the opinion that Homura is cool, at least in this timeline, but her thoughts would still stay lightened, because after interacting with this timeline's Homura, she would have at least been able to say that she wasn't completely taken off the deep end yet. So, they would have been able to work together a little bit, but ultimately, as we all know, nothing came of it. And so, now for the fated Run 4. But who could possibly be for Run 4? Well, let's recap. Round 1, we had Madoka Kaname. And for Run 2, we had Mami Tomoe. And finally, for Run 3, what we just discussed was none other than our Blue Knight, Sayaka Miki. So, ultimately, who does that leave for Run 4? Well, ladies and gentlemen, how about we get a drum roll cue? That's right! Homura Hakemi! Ah, you idiot! I bet you thought it'd be Kyoko! No! You're fools! You're simple-minded! You can't believe! I bet you thought it'd be Kyoko! You can't conceive! But you were wrong! I'm unbeatable! Ah, you idiot! See, that's why you need me! I know that I'm of a different... I'm of a different... I bet you thought it'd be Kyoko! Undoubtedly, unfathomably, that it was Homura's run on Run 4. God, I'm so smart. Yes, you heard that right. Run 4 was undoubtedly Homura's run. It's the run where she makes her shift, actually. From being, sweet, nerdy classes, to the aura farming edgelord that we actually come to know. Run 4 was where she decided to take matters into her own hands. She tried using Mami. She tried talking to the other powerful magical girl, being Sayaka, but after seeing that Mami on her own wasn't strong enough, Madoka being in the fight endangers her life, and Sayaka just did not want to help her. She decided to take matters into her own hands. Unrelated, but Sayaka made a great choice not helping her at any point. Now, using the knowledge that she has above the others, and also the combat experience, and just everything she was able to learn from all of her runs, you would think that she finally has the advantage. She knows what to do. She can bring it down. But she doesn't. No magical girl alone can beat Valpurgisnacht. At least not Homura. Not Homura again. She still fails. Which then brings us to the fated Run 5. This is actually the current timeline. And this is Kyoko's run. This one doesn't need as much explaining as all the other ones did, where I adamantly tell you how these were definitely a representation of each girl's participation within a different timeline, because in the current timeline, well, we actually see it. Homura, at every possible point in turn, keeps Kyoko out of battles and away from bonding with Sayaka as best she can. In her first interaction, the person who breaks up the fight between Kyoko and Sayaka is Homura. In their second interaction, the person who prevents the fight between Sayaka and Kyoko is, you know, Madoka to a degree.
Madoka, why'd you do that? But if I didn't, then you would've... Sayaka? Oh, Madoka, that was really bad. Huh? What's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind? How could you throw your friend away like that?
If it wasn't for that, it would be Homura again. Homura is actively trying to keep them separate because she's aware of the relationship that they can form, but she can't prevent that either.
You can have this city. What's up? Why the sudden change of heart? A girl like you is more suited for what it takes to be a magical girl. Sayaka Miki is not. Tell me something I don't already know. What happens if she doesn't agree with you? If I leave, she's gonna start bugging me again. I want to settle this thing peacefully. So I'd like you to stay out of it. Let me handle her.
Homura kinda sucks at this, I'm not gonna lie. You know, maybe she should've ran it a couple hundred more times, I don't know. Either way, Kyoko proved to be more fruitful for her, because we saw that we were going pretty well until we weren't.
I know, Sayaka. It sucks to be alone. Believe me, I know. But it's okay now, because I'm here with you, Sayaka.
Now, I'd like to bring up something a little unrelated that the Google AI once said to me while I was searching up a scene for an edit that I was making. The exact Google search being Kyoko sacrifices self scene, or like something like that. Unfortunately don't have a screenshot of when I actually made this Google search, but let me tell you, it was actually legendary. So, the Google AI, and I remember this pretty well, because it was like poetry, to be honest. It said something close to, Kyoko Sakura, after realizing she couldn't bear to live in a world without Sayaka Miki, therefore chose to rest with her by sacrificing herself, causing an explosion with her soul gem to put them both to peace. And I have to say, that might be some of the most beautifully written text by the Google AI ever. I mean, it was certainly a lot better than when I was actually in class, and I said, what is the date on Thursday? And in big, bold letters, it proudly and confidently said, Sunday. AI really has come far. To return to my point here, I think we can absolutely see why there would be 5 timelines. 4 prior, and now we're currently on the 5th. Between the subtle details of things in reality not quite working as they should, being a subtle leak of Homura's meddling, and all of the times that were actually shown Homura's loops, signifying that she just went through a different run with each girl, herself included. Not to mention, thinking that Homura went through 4 loops just is an understandable number. I mean, it makes it absolutely reasonable why she would be unperfect. She doesn't know how to handle every situation, and that's clearly evident by some of the choices she makes. I mean, in some actions that she causes, there's literally no way you can tell me that that was the best, most...
Really? A person becomes naive if they're too kind, careless if they're too bold. And no matter how hard you try to protect others, there is no gratitude. Those who can't comprehend such things aren't fit to be magical girls. That's the reason why Mommy Tomoe lost her life. Don't talk about her that way!
I mean, in some actions that she causes, there's literally no way you can tell me that that was the best, most thought-out thing she could have done.
Sayaka, she says she'll be okay on her own, and when I think about Mommy and how the same thing could happen to her, I just...
Is completely understandable as to why she would almost have an unperfected craft. It makes sense how she could make mistakes and not know everything, even though she has a definitely heightened knowledge in comparison to everyone. It makes it understandable why she seems definitely at times wrong in her judgment. I mean, haven't there been a few times where you were watching Homura and you were like, really? That was the best choice you could have made? Giving her that grace and only the 5 timeline period makes sense. Another point to all of this is actually Madoka herself. Madoka at the end tells Homura that she was able to see all of the grand efforts that she went through, all the trials and hardships that she had to endure.
Now I can see everything that ever happened, and everything that ever will. I see all the universes that could have been, and all the universes that are waiting to be born. I see it all, and I finally know. I know all the things you've done for me throughout all those different timelines. All of it. All the times you cried and all the times you got hurt, but you kept fighting for me. I'm so sorry I never knew until now. I'm so sorry.
And, well, all these factors, I would say, make a very satisfying conclusion that there ultimately would be 5 timelines. I mean, we have all the evidence right between us, between reality leaking into the current one, and also thinking that she did each run dedicated to one member of the Holy Quintet. Even what we've been shown actually gives us the information that we need to come to this conclusion. The more timelines we stack onto Homura, the more pressure it actually builds on her character. The more pressure it builds for her to be flawless, for her to actually know everything. And for each mistake she makes, it feels so much more penalized because she had so much more time to work on these things. So much more time to actually grasp all of this. It makes all of her mistakes feel so bad and just like so dumb. Well, Madoka fans, let me tell you something sweet. Absolutely everything I just told you is actually, factually, unbelievably, 100% wrong.
Perfect.
Utterly wrong. Sort of. So in the end, can I say with absolute confidence that these things did happen? That my theory was even correct at all? Yes! And I'll tell you why. There were, undoubtedly, 5 to 9, as I said, timelines initially planned within Madoka Magica. But this all changed once they were making Rebellion. I mean, it's natural for stories to take these changes as they develop, but somewhere along the way, when they were making the PSP game and Rebellion, they decided to add more timelines. And I know exactly why as well. So did Homura do a run with each girl to test their usefulness? Yes, undoubtedly. Would her tier list look something like this? Yes, undoubtedly. But, is that where she stopped? No. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Unfortunately for everybody, it wasn't. So, I would say my theory was correct at a time. And the beautiful thing about it is I actually think I was able to draw the exact conclusion that was wanted of us at that time. But in reality, let's go check how many timelines there really were. I mean, really, how many could there have even been in the first place? I mean, surely it couldn't have been that many more than what I said. So it's probably in the same range of about 5 to 9. What? How's that even possible? This literally makes no sense! 100? That's actually way more. Like, we should have stopped at 20. I've been yapping on for a little while now, and this video is getting kind of long, and we're about to enter an entirely new segment of the theory entirely, so I think right now we're going to have to actually close our eyes and rest for the night, because I guess for now, no one knows our record.